Kane is in the building.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in to another edition of the Buffalo Blueprint Podcast here only on the Dude Champions Media Network. I am Pat Bruknis. You can find me on Twitter at Pat_Bruknis. And I'm here with my co-host, Jake Steinhart. You can find him on Twitter at JakeFBData. And Sherm, do you want to tell everybody where everybody can find you at? Oh, you're muted. There we go. Oh, there we go.
Sorry about that. It's
No, you're good.
at ShermGeezy, ShermGeezay.
Alrighty, and I really want to appreciate you coming in with us tonight. Big win on Thursday, and you were there.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was we went in with the same sort of confidence. It was the yellow lot was absolutely filled, and when you got to the stadium, you could feel the atmosphere yet again. They're just a lot was made of it being quote unquote a rivalry, but it's hard to be a rivalry when you've won what are we 12 out of the last 14? So but looking around and seeing the stadium and just seeing so much blue and red, it's truly awesome. We like to call it Buffalo South now. That's what we're gonna do, and we that's our Airbnb home. We rent that to them, and we'll continue to do so as long as they continue to pay their bills, and they might be a little behind with Tua's contract soon, but that's okay.
And I do have a question for you, just very quick. I saw a tweet that said it was 44% Bills fans. Was it more than that?
So I think that number's somewhat exaggerated. In the lower bowl, absolutely in the lower bowl. But they like to say it's Miami on a Thursday, so they have better things to do. But it's Miami Gardens, number one. It's not Miami. And,
close to the beach.
Yeah, exactly. And,
Right.
And to be perfectly fair, the upper bowl is definitely more Dolphins, I'd say. So I'd say lower Buffalo for sure. I'd say 40 to 50% for sure. Definitely on the visitor side. The club probably, I'd say overall probably about 35%, 40. It was that, which is still, I mean,
That's still crazy.
It is. It's nuts. We coming from someone who, I go to college games all the time. They give them a section, like a small section.
Yeah.
We were in their stadium. We'll leave it at that.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. All right, well, we'll dive in a little bit, get your firsthand experience at the game and how some of these plays actually felt live. But first of all, I just wanted to touch on a couple overarching things. Like, I think got to give major props to McDermott, Babbage, and Brady. I mean, they had the guys ready to play. They cleaned up a lot from last week. I mean, only one penalty this week. Guys were flying around, hitting hard, making tackles. You didn't see a lot of missed tackles either. So I give them all props. And then obviously Babbage and Brady specifically, they had great schemes. You could see a lot of different details, the small details that they did. I thought it was fantastic from both of them. So what would you guys think?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to go first? Okay, yeah. Major props to Sean McDermott. He does it again with the defense and Bobby Babbage as well. Key players come out of the game, all pro players, and the Bills defense manages to find a way to fight through it. I know Mina Kimes said it best. The Buffalo Bills defense did not hear a bell the last 2 or 3 years with injuries. With Von Miller, they didn't hear a bell. Tre'Davious White, they did not hear a bell. Matt Milano, they didn't hear a bell last year, and now this year as well. Taron Johnson, Terrell Bernard, and Matt Milano being out, and still to manage to hold Miami's offense to 10 points, that's major props.
Yeah, from my perspective, I'd say the Bills were opportunistic. That's the right word we have to use. I think that Babbage and McDermott played a bend, don't break, and playing against someone who still hasn't learned that your opposing chess player has your number. It's like, don't bring the queen out. You know what I mean? Don't bring the queen out, because if you do, we're gonna get you. And I think that was on display. You know, I really judge it mainly off of the first half.
For
And
sure.
I'll let you guys dictate where we're going with it. But, you know, like I said, when I say the word opportunistic, I want to say that, you know, in the first drive, I distinctly remember, Rasul Douglas was playing lights out, made some great plays, and I think that, you know, what's not stated is I don't remember the gentleman's name. I think it was Dubose for Miami. That
Yeah,
pass hits him in you
for
catch that
sure.
ball.
For
Well,
sure.
all three of us catch that ball. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Right.
I don't want to say that, you know, we definitely did all right in there. Tua threw a deep ball. Tua was off right from the beginning, right? And
Yeah.
you know, throwing that ball, Benford, you know, he's definitely they're doubled on. I think Hill running, you know, completely gone. So there's a lot to be said for how we capitalized, and that's ultimately what the season's going to be judged on. Can we win that turnover battle? Can we make something? Can we scoop that ball up when it's on the ground? Right? How many times last year would we have killed to have said, "Hey, we were opportunistic"? So that's not a slight, but it's
Yeah, for sure.
also, I think we can identify some great things, and we can also identify some things that maybe not. Maybe they looked as bad as we looked good. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, for
Oh
sure. I mean,
yeah.
I think it's a good point with the bend don't break though. I mean, you could see that that was a clear goal of theirs. I mean, literally cover two. I think 75% of the time, the most since 2018 by the Bills. They were playing back. They had some light boxes. I mean, the majority of the time it was six, and a lot of times they were only having five guys in the box. I mean, they were just daring Miami to run the ball, and they were fine with giving up the runs, but they were
Yeah,
coming up and gang tackling and let Miami have 5, 6 yard runs, right? I mean, like you said, McDaniel, he wants the explosives, man. That's what they live and die by, right? I mean, they want the 40 yard, the
great.
60 yard, the 80 yard runs and passes. And so, I love that Babbage and McDermott just said no. Like you can have the 5, 8 yards, whatever. But eventually, you're gonna make a mistake, right? And it's gonna be a sack, it's gonna be a penalty, or a turnover, and we're gonna get you. And I really liked it. So it's hard. Like I do agree with you though. It's hard to grade them on like just straight up how good was the defense, because Miami played right into their hands. But the scheme, I really liked the scheme. You could see they had a clear idea of what they wanted to do, and they dictated the terms. They made Miami play to exactly how they wanted them to play. So from that
Correct.
perspective, I really really liked it. And then just the individual efforts, right? Like guys were in the right place at the right time, like you said. They were opportunistic. I mean, Ingram to be there, for the carom and, just and then Benford to be, playing in the right zone, the right spot for the overthrow. Like you still got to have guys in the right places. So overall, I really enjoyed it from the defense, and to see them clean up mistakes from last week, I really liked. I mean, the tackling was so much better this game. And then the lack of penalties, right? I think we only had one penalty all game, so that was another thing that I thought was cleaned up really nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially on the road. You can't afford to have penalties.
Yeah, yeah, you don't want to give up easy yards. So, some of the other stuff I really liked that they were doing was they were doing a lot of disguise with Hamlin and Rap, and they were making it look like they were in single high or a deep cover two, but then they were switching to like a cover three or a cover six. And it was really confusing. Tua, the linebackers, I really liked what they did with them. They had them pinching out wide to the slot players, so Hill and Waddle, whenever they were in the slot, you'd have a linebacker kind of pinch right at the snap, and it made it so Tua couldn't have any of those glancing routes and those slant routes. They took those away. They did the same thing on dime looks when they brought Ingram in as the sixth DB, and they took Dorian Williams off the field, and he was doing the same thing. So I really, really like that. They switched it up all game and kept them guessing. And then to do that though, you got to get home with four. And man, the D line played really good. I thought they were hung out to dry essentially with this scheme. I mean, when you're playing 5-man boxes, you're asking your D line to do a lot, and and I thought they did a really good job. Yes, they're going to give up some runs, but
Yeah.
the pass rush was on point and in key moments too. I mean, that was my big knock last year, was in critical moments that their D line was nowhere. Nobody stepped up. Nobody made a big play in the most important games, and so it was nice to see last night in the critical moments. It was the D line. They're the ones who forced the pick six, and so it was really nice to see that overall all night.
Yeah, especially on that 4th and 2, like you said, big moment right there. Ed Oliver was not even
Yeah.
ready. He was talking to Dwayne Carter, and still managed to bully his way through the offensive line and make a play.
The third down too, right? The play before
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Ed gives
the
him
third.
blows
That's
it up.
he did. He
Yeah.
both of them. Yeah, he was standing up. It was funny. I didn't know if he was ready or not. But he stood up, and I didn't know what. And then again, I don't know what the hell that was, but yeah, it was there. Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, and then they had some wrinkles where on some of those pass rush snaps they had AJ inside with Ed, and then Groot and Vaughn on the outside, and I
Like
was
that a
just
lot. That was
yeah,
So do
something
I. That was
I really enjoyed. I don't know what the like I said, what the actual outcomes were. I did not, like I said, I got to see a little bit of what I seen there, but
yeah.
what I remember, Epinesa on the inside was something brutal.
He was nasty.
I think
All right, so
I
the
think he
pick
had
six.
2 or 3. Yeah, there was 2 of them
Yep.
when he
Yeah.
and to be honest with you, I think that he came around on the play where Tua throws right to Ingram.
Yes, that was
I mean,
Yes.
he was
Yep.
he was a monster. I mean,
Yep,
he
he was
really
on the
was.
left guard and just destroyed the left guard. And
I think
forced
they
that
had a
pressure.
backup in at that point. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
I think that was still Jones, because the
Was
backup
it?
came
Okay,
in, I
'cause
think,
they-
a little later. Yeah.
Yeah, they had some backups come in,
Yep.
like I said, as well. Definitely.
Well, even the
near
Vaughn sack later, when Vaughn came around the corner, AJ did a nasty spin move on the right guard, and if Vaughn didn't get that sack, AJ would have gotten it. So,
Yeah.
man,
Yeah, he
it was
would've.
nice seeing those guys get after it. I mean, Ed had some really good pass rush snaps. Daquan too. I mean, I know he didn't get any of the credit for it, but man, he was bullying inside, and you get that interior pressure, and it just changes everything.
which was
Yeah.
one of our blueprints to victory was
Yeah,
in,
for sure.
interior
Take
pressure.
advantage of that interior. Yeah.
And you want to talk about Von Miller? Von Miller generated 4 pressures and a sack, obviously, on Thursday night. And every single one of his pressures, he got to the QB in under 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, he's also leading the league in pass rush win rate right now by percentage
Yeah.
of snaps, which is incredible.
And he should have
And he
got
was-
there again. Again, he missed.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
That
a
inside
split second.
spin move was,
Yeah.
was ridiculous.
Barely missed
It
it.
was a split second. He was there on that one. I do.
And he
know
wasn't
that,
doing
so.
it on like a bad tackle either. I mean,
No.
Jackson's a pretty good tackle, so that was really encouraging to see. Yeah, I loved seeing the overall plan and then them execute it so well. You didn't see any major busts in coverage. You didn't see anything crazy. No real miscommunications. And with Bernard going out so early, I was worried. I was
So was
worried
I.
about that. With the only one you really saw was the first play Spectre came in on the touchdown to Achan.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
For sure, that was Spectre's first.
I think there was
play.
about 3.
Oh.
He didn't watch on that one. Again, I frequent in spaces, a couple of blogs, some other things. I'm not gonna sit here and say he played a bad game because
Right.
he stepped in and he did what he had to do. But Balin Spector was out of position. I
For sure.
believe multiple times he was saved.
Yeah.
Ed Oliver played like a monster, an
Hey,
absolute
Yeah.
monster.
Tuhill got
Yeah.
a lot of hate last week. He came in and he played
By
really
you
well.
too.
I mean, yeah, a couple of those Waddle. Yeah, I hated on him too, but the Waddle end around, he really, really played that nicely. He did a really good job on the edge and forcing those plays to cut back or extend them longer so help could come. So yeah, I mean, you don't expect those guys to be perfect. I mean, Cam Lewis didn't have the most perfect game either. But again, like, it's rallying to the ball. It's the effort that you want to see, and then that's what did it, right? I mean, there was nothing major that caused big plays or points besides the one from Spectre, but that was his first play in. So
Love
overall,
DeMar
super
Hamlin.
encouraging.
Love DeMar.
Yeah, DeMar Hamlin. He
Yeah.
had 10
DeMar
tackles on
Hamlin.
Thursday.
DeMar
Yeah.
Hamlin has me eating crow for dinner every night.
Yeah,
I kept saying to everybody, to anybody that would listen, I said, if you talk to myself back in the day and got to say, hey, you're starting safeties. If you told Sherm in February that in September I'd have Rapp and Hamlin back there, I would have told
Right.
you we got to fight. Like, seriously,
Right. The
hands are
safeties
going on
become.
somebody because you're
Yeah.
not being
Right?
serious. And then we
Yeah.
have
No.
$10 million of space and Justin Simmons goes for 7 million. And I'm thinking, but
Like,
that's why that's why
Right.
I'm not
Right.
in charge of
Right.
things. There's a perfectly good reason why there's people above my pay grade in places that I'm not. And DeMar Hamlin has not only surpassed what I think, which is who gives a damn what I think, but in all honesty, what I think he's putting everyone on notice for how well he's making tackles and making plays in open field too. And
Yeah.
it can't be understated. There was a couple of runs. Even Achan had one, and I think he saved a touchdown. Open field on
yeah.
the right side, I believe. I'm not exactly certain. I think he got right one time too. So,
Yeah.
and Hill's one slant where he caught it, I believe I believe it was Hamlin. It could have been Rapp, but they saved that too. He got on the side. It was their last actually good play down the side. It was a seam.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You hit him right as he was running on the sideline.
Right. I mean, if he's
Yeah.
not
No.
there, if that safety's not there, so Rapp and Hamlin, but Hamlin, whew, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think that's a
myself,
credit, right, to Babbage and McDermott. I mean, there's definitely limitations in his game. No one's going to deny that, right? But he's been a good tackler, and I think they're using him to his strengths, which is playing downhill, right? So they're lining him up real deep and then letting him come down. Or in some of the cover three looks, he was actually like the hook to curl defender, and that's a really good spot for him because he can see, he's watching the quarterback, right, and then he gets to come trigger and tackle, and that's what he's really good at. So it was nice seeing Babbage use him, right. And I didn't think I was going to enjoy Taylor Rapp as a deep safety, but he's actually been pretty good. He hasn't been the one making the mistakes. His trigger's a little slow, but hey, we'll live with it, right? I mean, we're
yeah.
not seeking perfection here. We're just seeking good enough to win. So I
Yeah,
thought it was really
absolutely.
good. I mean, it was
And
just really encouraging to see it from Babbage this early on.
I was right there with Sherm where back in February, if it was DeMar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp, I was worried.
I don't think that was definitely the plan, right? I think we all can agree it was Edwards who was supposed to be starting, but
Right.
you know, I don't think Cam Lewis and Ingram were supposed to be getting the snaps they're getting either. But
Right.
that's the name of the game. Healthy, right? Availability is the best ability.
Right. And I mean, if there is a position I trust Sean McDermott with, it is the safeties.
Safety.
For
Yep.
sure.
So,
Well, that's
Yeah.
why I thought Cole Bishop would just be a day one, and so
Yeah.
that
and he
lets
made a
me
nice
also.
play too.
Yeah,
He
he
did.
did.
It
He
was
did.
fun seeing him in there.
But I thought he'd be. I genuinely thought he was plug and play after the
I
draft.
think he
So
might have without the injury too, right? I mean, it's hard to plug a rookie in when he misses multiple weeks,
sure.
and
Yeah.
even Edwards too, because you can be in the meetings and stuff like that, but they ask the safeties to do so much. I mean, they're disguising so much,
Yeah.
they're moving so much, they're in man coverage a lot, and covering different zones that they're not used to covering. So I think that's tough when you're not getting the actual reps and snaps to ask them to come in, and the communication too. I mean, there's so much communication the safeties have to have. So I mean, I think the injuries really caused that because I don't think that was their plan going in, was to have Rapp and Hamlin. So we'll see how long that lasts. But he's definitely playing well enough to keep playing. So
Right. He is.
it's a good luxury to have where you feel like you have extra guys who can play. I mean, same with the DBs as well. I mean, I don't know what are they going to do when Taryn comes back, because Ingram's played so well. Does he slide in as your first guy off? I mean, do they keep playing the dime looks with him because he's been playing so well and take Dorian off? Like, or does Cam Lewis slide right back in there? That's another debate that's tough to have because I feel like Ingram's been more solid than Cam, even though they've been asked to do different things. So it's not apples to apples. So, but I think that's an interesting conversation too.
It
Like
is.
who slides into that when they get back?
Good
'Cause
problem to have,
for
nonetheless.
sure,
It is.
for sure.
I,
Because
I, I
if you
do.
want a playmaker, it's definitely been Ingram, right? I mean, both games he's made massive plays.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cam Lewis has also done very well. He definitely had some slips. He
Yeah,
slipped on two plays, so that field was. I mean, that was
Yeah.
just
On that A
everybody.
chain
But
touchdown. Yeah.
yeah, there was but I'm saying even in open, I don't. Oof, yeah, when Taryn gets back, I'd like to see. I had well, now's not the time for that. But no, I had a real conversation, and I was speaking with everybody, and I said prior to the season happening, I really wanted to go up and get a receiver. That was my number one
Yeah.
priority.
Mine
And
too.
everyone
Yeah.
was like, what do we do? And I said, you have two what I consider incredible talent. I just think that they're top heavy, and I said in Harrison and Neighbors, and even Odunze and or Dunzo, however you want to pronounce he'll tell me. I don't know, but I thought they would go up, and everyone said, what do you trade?" And I said, Taron Johnson is an All Pro, and not because I thought one of these guys could step in, but because he was on a lower wage. I'm saying a lower salary. His cap hit wasn't there, and I got a lot of flack for that. But it wasn't because I was doubting his ability. It was because just
That
like
makes sense.
you just said, is that Sean McDermott is great with his secondary. He just
Right.
is. Now we can definitely say that. So when you have an all-pro player, that's what gets you up into the top 10. That's what I was saying. I wasn't saying anything like that. And I do have faith, but now we have a luxury. We definitely have a luxury. And
We do.
and he is the heartbeat of our defense. So I was only saying that amongst just conversation. Sometimes
Right.
you got to attach a
Right, that
player
makes
to a
sense.
pick to get up. And
Yeah.
I thought Josh would need more, but turns out Josh doesn't. This is Joe Brady's time.
Hey,
I don't
let's
think
let's segue into the offense.
Yeah,
this is
perfect
Joe Brady.
segue.
Yeah,
This
Perfect
is Joe
segue.
Brady time. I'm just telling you, it's Joe Brady time.
for sure. I mean, I love what they're doing on offense. I mean, I think it starts with the O line. I think what Cromer and Brady are doing together to marry the pass and the run has been awesome. The different run looks they're giving, the condensed formations, the sixth O lineman. I think all that brings in really nice wrinkles, keeps the defense, kind of guessing. And man, when you can play power football like that, it opens up so much more because then you let Josh just be him when you need it to be instead of all the time. So I really
Right.
enjoyed that from this game. It's hard to evaluate like the passing game in a game like this because they had such good field position, before they basically just dropped anchor and tried to kill the clock. So I mean, when you're starting at the 50 or better on 3 possessions, it's hard to really evaluate. And then they ran the ball so well too. You don't feel like you really need to throw it. Um, so that was kind of tough to evaluate what their overall plan was in the passing game because I feel like they only did what they needed to do. Vice kind of opening it up. Um, Overall for Josh though, I thought he this season in particular, but Thursday as well. Like he kind of reminds me of playoff Josh as far as his focus. Um, he's it looks like he used to take plays. Kind of seemed like he'd take plays off or be like, oh, I can take a risk here. It's not a big deal. But this year, it seems like he's locked in every play. Especially pre-snap, he's doing way more pre-snap than I remember. Recognizing a lot more. It sounds like Brady's giving him more voice on the offense and letting him do a lot more, and he's dictating a lot more. I mean, even that fourth down touchdown.
Yeah,
to
the 4th
Cook.
and 2 in the presser, he said that
Yeah,
they called a timeout
exactly.
because he came out of the huddle late, but then he saw there was a cover 0.
Yep. Yep, out of the timeout, yeah, and so it was even better look for them, and so they knew they were in the right play. But just knowing stuff like that, is nice to see. And then he's been real patient. You haven't seen him really forcing anything. I thought the deep shot to MVS was nice. The throw to Samuel, could have been a little better, but it was the right spot and a good look. And obviously, like plays like he does to Ty Johnson, are just ridiculous. So.
Right.
But it's nice not having to see him do that 10 times a game when it's not needed, right? Like he's
Right.
doing it in the right spots. So that was really nice for me. um I don't know, like the run game for me, I can see what they're trying to do. um I think they're trying to figure out again if they want to be outside zone and a zone running team, or if they want to do like duo power gap running. And you know, before Brady took over, they were doing a lot more zone and a lot more outside zone. And then when Brady took over, they switched to doing more duo and gap and doing the tackle wraps and stuff like that. So I think they're still kind of feeling that out. They did catch on a little bit last year towards the end. Teams did with the tackle wrap, and You saw that a little bit with Arizona. They were trying to counter that. So I think they're still trying to feel that out. But man, it was nice seeing Cook have some nice runs and really the 149 yarder was so nice with the sixth O lineman. They triple teamed the defensive tackle on that side, and then
Yeah.
McGovern had a really nice seal on the center, and that hole. I mean, all of us could have run through that hole. That was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then, once you get Cook in space, it's a beautiful thing. So that was
It
nice
is.
to see the run game, clicking a little bit, and then even when they were running down the clock, like it didn't seem like it, but I mean, Ray Davis still averaged almost 4 yards a carry, like in that time, that's really hard to do, right? They were selling out to stop the run, stacking the box, and he's still grinding out yards. So overall, for me, I really enjoyed the offense. It's hard to grade a game like this, right? I mean, but they took advantage of the easy field position they had, and they put up the points, right? I mean, they had 24 points at halftime. So
Yeah, you want to talk about somebody who's efficient. You are seeing playoff Josh Allen. He's being efficient and he's being more patient. And just look at that throw he made to Shakir right in between the three defenders.
yeah,
With his eyes, he held off Jordan Poyer just long enough where he can make that throw. And the running game, what are they averaging right now, Jake? 4 or 5 yards a carry on the season?
I'm not sure on the season, but in that game, yeah, it was like 3-9 or something like that, I think. So
Yeah.
which
So,
is
I
nice
mean,
considering a lot of that was just running out the clock. So
right. Yeah.
and not Josh's legs, right? That's the other thing. It used to be where the majority of the production was coming from Josh's legs, and now you're seeing the majority of the production not coming from his legs, and they're not even needing to use them as far as a lot of it was like RPO based runs, and the threat of Josh running is what was keeping the defense honest, and they're not even needing to do that anymore. They're just able to do more traditional handoffs, so that's nice to see too.
Yeah. And I mean, Josh only had 2 rush attempts on Thursday for 2 yards. So you're right there. And I love how the Bills offense just looks more physical than years past. Let's say than the 2021 season when we played Pittsburgh in the season opener. We just got outbullied. We weren't people were said Buffalo is not a physical team, but now the second half of last year and this year so far, Buffalo looks like the more physical team.
Yeah, and it used to be Josh being the physical one, right? But now
Right.
it's nice to see the rest of the team stepping up and being more physical. And I think part of that is Hollins and even Coleman and Shakir and getting guys
Yeah.
at the wide receiver position that want to be physical and are willing blockers. Years past, we didn't have necessarily guys that really wanted to do it. And then the O line too, getting guys that want to be nasty, that want to be physical, right? Even our sixth, our guy
Anderson.
Alec Anderson, right?
Yeah.
Like he comes in and I mean, in a good way, he wants to hurt people. Like he wants to bury you. I mean, he pancaked Calais Campbell. Like
Yeah. Put
that's
him right to the
I
ground.
don't care how old he is. That's hard to do, and he
Yeah.
had three other blocks where he snatch trapped. Spencer Brown had some too where they're putting O linemen in the dirt or D linemen in the dirt and then jumping on them. Like I
Yeah.
love to see that stuff, man. When the O line gets physical, good things happen.
Yeah, especially when they're finishing their blocks and just bringing the nasty.
Yeah.
Not much more you can ask for from your
Sharm,
offensive
what you
line.
think on the offense overall?
I got a couple of just different takes. I think we replaced 113 for another 13, meaning
For
Gabe
sure.
Davis and Mac Hollins. Mac Hollins is blocking. I
Yeah.
don't know, even when you start the game, I was on that side, obviously visitor side. The first play to Kincaid, if I close my eyes, regardless of how many beers I had, Mac Hollins looked like Gabe Davis. They ran Mac Hollins in motion to see what the defense was giving them, and then Mac Hollins would pinch and seal the end.
The difference is they're appropriately paid now, right?
Exactly. Well, and fuck, excuse me, Mac Hollins might sorry about my language. Mac Hollins might deserve a raise. I mean, I'm
right.
serious.
No, yeah, I
He's
agree with
blocking at more of a better clip. He actually can catch the ball.
you. He does. And you don't feel like you're forced. I mean, the best
Yeah.
part of Gabe, right, was his deep, his ability to get deep and get behind the defense, but you also needed him to do the dirty work and to block, like you said, and that takes a lot of energy out of you too. So it's nice to have a guy who can do all that, but then run the short intermediate route tree that Gabe couldn't do, right? I mean,
Right.
that's just not what Gabe did. So no, I think that's a great point. I mean, I love giving Mac credit because that's a thankless job that he does, but Yeah, I mean it's more that's more appropriate of your wide receiver 4 or 5, and that's
It
essentially what he
was
is, right?
yeah, that was something that I've identified in the first 2 weeks. I call it an agenda that I have, but it's not really. A lot of people wanted to tell us what a wide receiver one is,
Right,
and a
right.
wide receiver one all over the league. You want to think of a Justin Jefferson, or you want to say it's somebody who's just out, Jamar Chase, right? You want to say
Yep.
it's somebody who's just going to go up and get the ball. Maybe give us a you got Moss play, but a wide receiver one is the guy you can depend on that you're going to when the time presents itself. And I think it's time for the Buffalo Bills and everyone else, I'm saying the fan base and everyone, to put some respect on Khalil Shakir's name.
Yeah, for
They
sure.
are
So glad you brought that up.
he is the
Yeah.
go-to guy. He is WRONE. I don't need to say it anymore. He's the guy. And if you didn't see it, you see Josh threads that ball in between three. What did he do?
Yep.
He held onto the ball after he got targeting.
Yep.
Then he also had a play. They ran a reverse for him. He was also targeted every time Josh needed someone to go to. Not only is he the safety net, he's the person we are throwing to. And what does he catch at right now? Because if I'm not
He catches
mistaken, I think
everything,
he's catching
man.
at 100% right now.
Yeah, and his
Yeah, he
So
is.
catch
I
rate
mean,
last year, his catch rate last year was number 1 in the league. So
it
yeah, it
was,
was
and there was been
at
a lot of
85%.
correct. He
yeah.
catches it. If it's
No,
thrown
but
to
that's
him,
a
it
great
doesn't
point
matter
though,
if it's
because like
down.
it started with the Rams, right? With Cooper Cup, like
Yep.
having a non-traditional number 1, right? A slot guy, you
Yep.
know, and then the Detroit does it too, right? With Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. So
Yep.
like they're showing you that guys, can do that, and I think that's a great point because he's been awesome. He's been great, and
It's been
and
nothing
that's
short
with
of fantastic.
limited targets, right? Limited looks, and not having to force it to a guy either has been really nice.
And now you're seeing some other things. You're seeing the wrinkles that are presented. Um, Again, I see it differently. I only remember and I haven't not going back and seeing it. I'd like to rewatch and go through, but in what I seen there, the Mac Hollins or it wasn't Mac Hollins, the MVS throw. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah,
Josh put that kind of where I think MVS need to have a little bit of
he
awareness, and
lost it.
I'm
He
just
said
being
it.
honest.
He said it after the game. He
Yeah,
didn't track the ball well. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
because that looked great from where
It
I
was.
was at.
Josh threw it right where it needed to
I
be.
think
Yep.
Josh as a whole, I do like. I like where we're going. I'm a run first guy. I'm a person who believes and let me tell you something. I love our offensive line. If you
Yeah.
followed me or listened to me on anything forever, I've told you we have monsters, and I might have been one of the only people anywhere that was excited that Mitch Morse was gone. Not because I don't appreciate what Mitch Morse gave to
No, I
us
agree
and
though. He's
how he
finesse,
solidified
man.
us as. But he would anchor
He's
back. He
finesse.
was a
Yep.
pass protector. Now we're only going to get even bigger and stronger, and we have some graders up there. And I tell you what, it looks great. But what I'm going to come back on is with Josh not getting, I want to say the amount of throws. I do believe that the one to Samuel, I think if he puts that there, he's got Brooks smoked. He
Yep.
does.
Yep.
And
He held that a little long. I think he needed to throw that a little earlier and get
we
him out
we
there, right?
I in the stadium we all were
Right.
we thought it was there.
Yep.
He short hopped one, I believe, or two. I think it was out of the backfield. Let me
Yep.
let me tell you another one that was it was very similar to the Ty Johnson play and also the MBS. And I believe this young man comes down with the ball. Keon Coleman's wide open when Calais Campbell knocks it down. I don't think that
Yep.
was something that some people are like, "What are you talking about?" And I don't know if it was on TV or if it wasn't, but at the stadium, Keon Coleman breaks. Okay, and Josh is rolling, and how I don't know how Campbell got to it. I didn't see that. I don't know. But Josh looked like he broke. Oh, I think he dropped the snap. Is what happened.
Yeah. Okay, that
That's
play.
what
Yes,
happened.
Okay.
yes.
I think he drops the
Which
snap.
hit him right in his good hand. Like it's just
Yeah, that was
strange.
dropping.
Well, that's
That was
something to
weird.
say. So, even me being where I was, I don't know
Yeah.
if they made a big deal about it, but Josh looked like he had like it was almost like a cast glove. I don't know what the hell it was, but it
Yeah.
was
It was a big
big
glove, and they had
like
some
they
kind
zoomed
of
on it once or twice,
yeah.
like seriously at so to be perfectly so dropping that snap wasn't the end of the world. But in that position right there, like I said, I would have loved to have seen Keon Coleman get that ball thrown in his direction just because. So overall, my on offense, I don't have. You got to see Kincaid. I think they opened the half with the same way they opened the game. I think they opened the game, went left to Kincaid, then right to Kincaid. And
I
then,
like that little play, man. Get him the ball
Yeah.
quick and let him
Yeah.
run.
yeah.
And make a
And
play.
eventually, what will happen is Josh will be able to pump fake to Kincaid, and that
Yep.
you'll have something running.
Yeah.
That's what I said
So
at the post game show. I want to see the wrinkle off that because they're definitely going to do something.
It's going to come there, and then let me tell you something. The confidence. It was almost like someone was talking to someone on Twitter, and they didn't know that the person that they were talking crazy to would actually show up. And what I mean by that is it was a 5'4" guy behind a keyboard, and then the 6'6" guy shows up. That's a bodybuilder. When we went for it on 4th down, the Miami Dolphins, you should have seen the place went silent. Normally, if someone's going for it,
Was it that first one you're talking about?
For a second. So then they call timeout. Yeah. On the first.
Yeah, the first one. Yeah.
They call timeout, or we call timeout.
Yeah,
And when I tell you that the stadium, there was a sigh of relief almost. It was like they were like they went silent. Like you don't hear that. Like you
That's
just
awesome.
don't. Like stadiums stay excited, right? They stay
you can hear the conversation, right?
Yeah, and when I say then they came back out, and normally everybody be standing up and be like, well, are you done? But no, you didn't hear that at all. Then they get to the line, the play clock. Then it gets loud, and I'm telling you, Josh got to see exactly the way that was played. And I think it was Samuel. I'm not sure. I don't remember because I think Cook runs. It was on my side, but I think Samuel runs behind him. I'm not certain.
He did. It was double motion. Yep.
Yeah, it was a double motion. Yeah.
And they were picking that apart. And when I tell you, that's
what
when
a double pick on the left side. So
I knew we were good right when that happened.
Hollins, they both ran in and picked David Long trying to come over and cover Cook. So it was a beautifully designed play, but yeah, that crowd, that's hilarious that they got all.
It was
that's hysterical.
I mean that it was like, it was like, oh no, they're here. Like, oh no. They're doing it. Like
you got
and they didn't expect James Cook. I promise you they didn't. They thought it was going to be Josh. They're so used to Josh doing that, right? And one of you guys said
having
Josh
to scramble around, right, and then like find someone late.
Like and you could just tell it deflated, and it was crazy how it deflated in that moment, at that time, at that juncture. It was truly amazing. One of you guys said Josh only had 4 yards. I thought he had 7 on the one where he faked the pump fake and kept running. But you're probably right. I'm saying because remember I thought he escaped. He broke the pocket and he did the pump fake, and didn't he almost get a first down on that? No,
I don't remember.
Hey, I'm trying to remember. I know what play you're talking about. It was in the second half, right?
I don't remember. I really don't. Yeah. It could be the beer talking. I thought he did his pass.
It was one of the few games I didn't have to think about Josh's running.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look. But that's what
2 carries for 2 yards. But
2 yards. I thought
his long was 3 yards. So.
Wow. Okay, so I don't know what play that was, but there's a play in there where he does that. I love it because he's already passed the line of scrimmage, and for some reason the Miami guy was
fake.
and the guy was frozen. Like
on the broadcast, they mentioned that too. They're like, "That's the vintage Josh pump."
It's just what he does. It's honestly what he does. So it was interesting.
The linebackers always fall for it.
They do. Give me 1 second, guys. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. Yeah, I mean, so
and that little stutter step too, Jake. All the time with Allen, he'll go with the little shimmy to the left and right in the pump fake. Been in the league now for almost what? Let's see. This is 7th year. And nobody can catch on to that yet.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, it's just nice to see, man, them winning in different ways. I think that was the big thing for me. Going down Miami and crushing them is always nice too.
Always.
So that's always a beautiful thing. But to see them win complimentary, was really nice. I think the Bass field goal, I think it was blocked. I think it was tipped.
It had to have been, right? I'm glad we brought that up now.
I went back and watched it, and like the way it comes off, everything looks fine. but there's a Miami defender that immediately like says that he blocked it, like and is doing the hand thing, like
Yeah,
immediately and jumping up and celebrating, and the way that ball like just went off to the
yeah,
left.
yeah.
So I'm pretty sure it was tipped. I hope it was. But again, then that really gets me back to my Smiley piece where like, why are we getting so many kicks blocked, man? We were getting them blocked last year. Like that's a scheme thing. Like that they're seeing something.
Yeah.
Also, like is Bass just kicking him lower? Like, is that something that he needs to correct? Because he's had a couple blocked now. I think that's like his third or fourth I can remember. So, I didn't like that at all. It's better than him straight up missing it, but you can't have blocks either, man. And
No, because those sometimes can turn into touchdowns.
Right,
and
it wasn't even a long kick though, so it wasn't like he needed to kick it real low, and that can cause blocks sometimes too, right? When the 50, 60 yarders, when they gotta kick it lower, and then also it wasn't like a weather thing either, where he's trying to drive it, with wind and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's just when you start feeling a little better about it, that happens. But again, at least
but if you were to get one blocked, or if he missed it, whichever the case may
right,
be,
it's better than his.
At least it's right in that situation, right?
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think it's better than him just straight up shanking it sideways. So
no, it is.
Go ahead.
And one of the final things I want to touch on about this game is Josh. I don't know if you saw the video clip, but at the end of the game, Josh Allen's laughing at the Dolphins fan, telling him to get out. Dolphin fan was flipping him off.
Yeah.
Thought that was hysterical. And Josh Allen to David Long looking at the back of the jersey like, who are you?
Yeah,
was hysterical.
That was a nice trash talk. That was. I'm sure you didn't see that in the stadium, but Sherm, Josh Allen and David, or I guess David Long was trash talking Josh Allen a little bit, and he did the old like look at the back of the nameplate.
Somebody sent it to me. I did not see it at all. No, I didn't.
It was beautiful. There was a lot of chirping. I guess the fans were really chirping.
Yeah, Josh was talking to the section.
Yeah,
the section behind the bench. He was. It was. Yeah, he was definitely talking. We seen that. That was something that got the crowd going because he was talking to somebody for sure.
I love that he's the
little pettiness
trash talker in the NFL. It's great, man, because he
backs
it up. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yes, he does.
All right, so let's talk. We want to talk a little Miami, a little Dolphins. What we thought, what we see for the future. Was that the actual Dolphins that we're gonna see? I don't know if we really want to get into the Tua stuff. It's kind of been hammered, but
I can fairly. I'm like I said. I like to think I'm balanced and fair on, especially with opposing teams and the analysis. Look, Tua played awful. Sure. Injury aside.
Yep.
Injury included, he played awful. You slide there. What are you doing, man?
Right.
Yeah.
Like
especially
when I say they went silent on the fourth down, like this was almost like I had a chest pain. I was like, oh man, you got to be kidding me! Like, no, I mean, seriously, so forget that. I mean, we can put that.
Hold on, real quick though. What was it like in the stadium for that? Because for on TV,
silent, needle drop. Like you know, we he does this thing where he moves
fencing. Yeah, the fencing.
I don't know what that is. So to be perfectly honest with you, but not included. Let's take that away because no one ever, and this, if somebody in our base or anybody has something to say about that, as far as I'm concerned, that's pitiful. I wish nothing but the best as far as a business decision. If that was my son, if that was my brother, if that was my dad, if that was me, I would never. You have 178 million reasons why to never touch that field again. I understand as a competitor, but you got your eggs scrambled, man, and this is one too many times. And I think back in the day, it was a little bit different. Troy Aikman definitely went through a bunch, and
Wes Walker's another one.
I don't want to. I don't want to get too much on it, but I'll just say this. Sure. He inflicted that, and it looked like he was the one putting he laid the hit down. So for that, exactly. So for that, even to cause that damage, wow, I didn't like that. But before that, he hits the receiver. Like I said, I think it was Dubose.
It was Dubose.
It's there.
It was a good throw, man. Yep.
It was.
Throw.
Then the next one, we have a breakdown in between the linebacker and I believe I want to say Benford's in the back, but the wide receiver's open in that throw. I promise you.
That's the honey hole cover 2 beater.
Yeah,
You got to fit it
exactly.
in there. Yep. And then it looked like, I don't know if
And he
Chosen, like the receiver, thought
didn't
he
even
was
put his.
supposed to
I think he
sit.
didn't even put his. Yeah.
Yeah, he
Mm-mm.
slipped too, but I don't know
Yeah.
what he
Yeah.
was doing because he was supposed to keep running, right? And then you're
And then
you're
that
fine,
was
but
bad. And then the
yeah,
next one.
I don't put that on Tua though. I honestly don't. Um,
And again, I'm just saying. And then Ingram's interception. I know we can say, oh, it's our defense that was putting him in that position. But I'll tell you this.
you don't throw that fucking ball.
Exactly. And that's all I'm saying.
No, you don't throw that.
If I'm a Dolphins fan today, I'm not as, you don't get too high and you don't get too low. They did not play a terrible, terrible game. I can assure you that. They need to learn to play within their system and play within their, and like you said earlier, they want a chunk play on a pass. They want a chunk play on a run. When you're getting 5-6 yards of carry with and I'm just saying, then you on fourth down you go into a shotgun where you don't need to. You're clearly having success running on the opposite side of Ed Oliver. We're down to what I call Terrell Bernard an All-Pro. If you look at his stats, they're all.
Yeah, so do I. He should have been one last year, right?
You're down 2 All-Pros, okay, 3 with Johnson out.
Yeah, 3 with Taryn. Yeah,
I'm running that ball there. So
and we're playing light boxes. We're inviting you to run.
Offensively, I think that it was a schematic problem for them. I think that we don't see Durham Smythe there. They had an upgrade. I talked about Jonnu Smith quite a bit. He looked every bit the part. There was also a play where there was a tight end that doesn't catch a touchdown, I believe. I don't know who the hell what happened there, but if that's Jonnu Smith, that's 6. Okay, so there's a couple of plays. This game isn't really 31-10. Like I said, we can be happy, we can be positive, but they left some points out there for sure. Even on the one, so that tight end where he's running and then. Where Tua gets the concussion. I mean, I'm not saying they definitely get 7, but there's 3 there. So it's a little bit different. So offensively, I'm not worried if I'm them. Mostert's going to come back. They have a great ground attack. Their offensive line seemed healthy until this game. So we don't know what that is. And they need Odell Beckham. Chosen and do Bose or whatever. They can't be the third, right? Or they need to let Barrios get in the game. They need dependable hands. Defensively, let me tell you something. Another person I need to eat some crow on. Chop Robinson. Great open field tackle. Man. Great open field tackle. He came off the end. He pressured quite a bit. He played great, outstanding. Brooks played very, very well. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to double down on this, and I don't care what anyone says. Steeler is not who they want him to be. He's not. He's not. I'm sorry. You benefited from Christian Wilkins, and you're not Christian Wilkins. You're not, okay? Chop Robinson saved him quite a few times. Calais Campbell caused hell on the inside for coming inside and moving. He looked great. But no, Steeler is definitely.
They had a couple of really good stunts.
Yeah, they did.
And those stunts really affected that's one of my things I forgot to touch on was the interior line. They got to figure that out on this break because even the Cardinals did it too. And between McGovern and Torrance, Edwards got caught on it once that I saw, but it was a couple times with Torrance. They're not communicating those stunts and they're not passing them off. So Torrance will turn and help the center. And,
correct.
And then the guy coming inside just goes right by him. And
he does.
So
he does.
I don't know if that's something that's not getting pointed out to him or what, but
the Poland player's not getting there fast enough, and apparently they think that that's okay. But I think it was, I don't remember if it was James Cook. I'm pretty sure Ray Davis, but I think Edwards goes to collapse down and the pool, and it's just not there. It's not there. So, but don't get me wrong. I like that that's still in the defensive minds, right? So when you have the other coordinator thinking, well, shit, we don't know what we're up against, right? They could be running this or they could be you don't know. So maybe that's part of the mix up. Maybe that's something we have to incorporate, but definitely communication. There's just a whole lot going on up there. So when there's that much going on, especially for, offensive linemen who I would like to think are the knuckleheads, the Billy Bobs of the Friday Night Lights, they're they want a beer after the game, So I think I think they're doing what they can with what they have, and I think they've done outstanding. However, I am with you. We need to, like I said, we're in game 2 of trying to get into a tournament to which we can advance, and that's why, I'm not going to segue this for me, but I'm just saying, in order to advance, everyone has to get better, right?
Yeah.
And
No, I mean that we can go to the big picture for that, because over this next break, like, what are you looking forward to? What are you looking, what's your outlook for, from here, going forward?
Yeah, so I'm just a little bit, like I said. So if this was a stock market, everybody'd be bullish right now, right? We were a stock that everyone wanted to put down. It was like, hey, the Buffalo Bills don't have their safeties. They don't have Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer. They're missing Tre'Davious White. Matt Milano's out for the season. Well, let's be real. Tre'Davious White was not with us that much last week. Just being honest. And Micah Hyde. Micah Hyde is one of my favorite Buffalo Bills, and some people still want him back this year. I would love him back as a coach.
Yeah.
That would be great if he wants to come in and be some sort of player person, anything along those lines. But I think Micah and Jordan, and we've seen Jordan, they're shells of themselves. I mean, we've seen that ourselves. We did. Yeah. They're not what we had when they came here, and I will forever appreciate them putting us back. I'm not going to put them down. I'm just going to say that it is time sometimes in the NFL to turn the page, similar to an agent Diggs, right? You're about to pay this guy. You're having disascension in the locker room, which has now been confirmed. At first it was, he's a great teammate. Well, it's the truth. In our locker room, I'm sure he comes in blazing and great when he's got the check in front of him. But ultimately, like I said, I'm not going to put him down. It didn't work in our locker room, and he'd still be one of our greats. Going into this stretch, I'm concerned, and I made that very clear. If you've been in chats or anything with me, I think we have to be realists, right? And there are a couple of glaring. You're now down, like we said, 3 All-Pros. And bend don't break works great against someone who's willing to roll the dice. But teams that don't want to roll the dice and teams that will play within themselves are going to have success. So even though that cape hasn't come out yet, that cape might need to come out faster.
That's why I'm curious on what the wrinkles are for that, right? Because when they know they can't play that style, right, or they're not scared of your deep weapons, what is the defense going to look like? What is going to be different? And then you're going to be asking guys to do different things. So then what does that cause? What holes does that create? So I think that's a great point. For sure.
I know that Miami's a great run team, but I will say that as the Mike is the middle linebacker, as Spectre where he was, to get their offensive linemen to get to that second level and get hands on him as many times as I've seen. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, he played great." You don't get hands on you like that. I'm just being honest. He was 100% squared up, pushed right in. I'm telling you what I see. It doesn't matter. I mean, a little bit late. Him and Dorian both over pursuing on multiple occasions. I was watching it. I'm not blind. I can give credit that we stayed within ourselves and against that person. But so let's go ahead. You guys pull it up at the moment, and I'll tell you right now. We've got what? We've got Trevor Lawrence, who is definitely the real deal. Now we're going to have a fat. Now, not only are you down your cerebral, right? You're not down just the mental aspect of containing a Lamar Jackson. We're the primetime Bills. Not only do we play on Thursday, now we're going into Monday. Then we have
a Monday
night. Yeah, then Sunday night in Baltimore. Yeah.
And then another night game. You know what it's like after that. Houston's a 1:00, but after that we have the Jets, and then there's one more. So what I'm saying is Jets and Baltimore. Baltimore and the Jets.
Yeah, Baltimore.
So when I say you go Baltimore, Houston, and the Jets, you're the prime time. 3 of the next 4. Do you know how hard that is for an NFL team? Not only that,
and they're all 3 on the road.
On the road.
Yeah, on the road.
On the road.
Yeah.
So I told everyone in my personal belief coming out of the first 6 games, 4-2 was the goal for me. That's me as a person. I'm not saying you look 6-0 sounds great, 5-1. Now what we're down, now going against who we're going, you can rest assured Lamar Jackson might make that throw. Lamar Jackson it seems like the one he might make the 2 mistakes, but I can assure you Trevor Lawrence doesn't do that. He doesn't.
I agree.
Aaron Rodgers might have had a rusty game. Aaron Rodgers is not going to make those throws. He's just not going to. I promise you he's not. And CJ Stroud, those are real weapons. We're not talking just 1, 2. I think the Houston Texans have the deepest wide receiving core in the National Football League. And I'll put that against anybody. 1 through 6, I tell you what, we'd probably take their 4th right now, and he'd probably step in. So let's just be honest with ourselves. Like, this is going to be something where I think we need to go 500 in these next 4, and however we get them, we need to get them. So defend.
I think that would be great because when I predicted, I had them going 3-3.
Yeah.
In this first 6 games because it's that brutal. So I think you're right. If they come out at 4-2, I think you're happy with that for sure.
Absolutely thrilled. You got to defend home. Don't let anyone in our backyard.
Sure. You got to win this next one.
You have to beat Jacksonville. You have to.
This is the one. One. And then now
you try to steal one of the next 3, essentially. Right?
Yeah, and I think Baltimore's the one you can legitimately circle as stealable. I think it's just one where Sean McDermott has Lamar. He just does. It's just
he does.
It's where it's at. I was really enthused for the Jets. I'm a little bit, like I said, I called us a stock. I think there's another stock that can be bought right now, and that is a team out in Jersey. And while other people are going to be low on them, they're healthy.
They're not as bad as people think, right? I mean,
if they're healthy, they're healthy, you know what I mean? And cohesion is gained over time, right? Yeah. I mean, they have the quarterback
preseason, right?
Yeah, they have the quarterback who coined the phrase, "Hey, what is it? Don't worry,
relax.
He understands the marathon. This is a multiple-time MVP. This is a Super Bowl winning quarterback. This is the CEO and GM of the team right now. He knows what he's doing. He is. Joe Douglas isn't running nothing over there. That's Aaron Rodgers pulling in his people, and they're going to be ready. Now, do I think that we are capable? 100%. Losing Terrell Bernard does knock it down a couple levels. Not having Taron Johnson does knock it down a couple levels. But
we'll see. It'll be close if Bernard can be back by then. But that's the first game I think he really has a chance to be back by. Because if it's the timeline's 4 to 6 weeks, that would be the first game that he has.
My concern about that. So again, I'm not a doctor. And I have a buddy who who deals in a lot of physio and all that. But I almost would rather him get the surgery than to play on a strain. And the reason why I say that is because
you could re-injure it, right?
Exactly. And I'd rather just go ahead and knock it out. It's and I compared it to something like a Tommy John, where you say, "Oh, I've got a sore elbow and my tightness." Well, we wait 2 months, and next thing you know, you're out for a season, right? Yeah. I'd rather have Terrell Bernard back. Let's go ahead and let Balin Spector, learn trial by fire. I mean, seriously, again, if I had to give him a grade on the game, I'm giving him a solid B-, C+. But that's great for stepping in. Now you get a full
against
week
that team too, like with all that miscommunication or motion and pre-snap.
Exactly.
Like, for sure.
And guess what? Now he has this whole weekend,
11 days.
And exactly. And now he gets to run with the ones. He gets to have the communication. Let's empower him, right? That's the best way we can help any young individual in this life, is to say, "Hey, you didn't fail. You just learned what didn't work. Now let's get better. Let's watch this ascension and the way he can get in." So like I said, I want them to go the right way, and I'm sure TV's people will do what's best for him anyway. Right. If it doesn't need surgery, he won't get it. But if it's a severe, I don't know the grade of the strain. They haven't been too forthright or transparent about what's coming.
If it's a grade 1, like
correct,
it's nothing crazy, but it's still, no matter what, it's gonna be.
I seen him do it.
Weeks.
So a lot of people thought it happened after the play that was almost in the end zone. I don't know. He went like this.
3 plays before.
Oh, it was 3?
Yeah, I went and
Yeah.
found it. It was like 3 plays before, and yeah, same kind of thing though. He reaches out with his arm to make a tackle, and
It was like he
you could
did this
see,
dead arm thing. It was like
yeah.
real.
So I don't. That's why I think it's minor as far as like when you tear something, right? Like it's just laying there
You're
limp,
saying
right?
immediately he would have went out. Yeah.
For sure. I think it's one of those where we've all tweaked something, you feel a little, oh, that's not good, a little sharp pain, and then you kind of move it around and you're like, oh, okay, it's not, killing
Yeah.
me. Like that's all right. And then he did another motion. He was like, oh, no, nope, that's no good.
Yeah.
So
More
I
than a
think
little
that's what
more than the
happened.
stinger. Yeah.
Right, right. So we'll see. Everything we've heard has been on the positive side, but again, there's no minor pec injury. It's multiple weeks regardless of how minor it is. So um, yeah, the sooner the better, right? That he can come back, but
That'd be
it's
great.
also a nice opportunity to have a guy in your system like Spectre, who's been there for multiple years. He has snaps under his belt and can come in and you know he called a good game. It's like the communication was there. You didn't
Yes.
see guys out of pre-snap. They weren't out of position. They weren't running around all confused. Like so, I do got to give them credit for that, right? I mean, they had the right checks in place, so that's super encouraging as well because that's not easy to come in, right, and just have to call the defense. So
Yeah, it's
you
not an easy task at all.
you got to get out of here, Sherm. Are you
I'll give you, I got 10, 15 more minutes. You know what I'm
okay?
waiting on. I'm waiting on this UFC 306, but that's not quite here
Mhm.
yet. If you
All
guys
right.
want to
Well,
talk
let's
about
let's get
anything
into
else,
the slate then. Yeah.
I'll give you a good 10 more minutes before we jump in. Go ahead.
All right. Let's get into the Sunday slate then. Um, so there's some key games for the Bills that I want to hit on, and you can hit out from your handicapping perspective for any Bills fans watching and want to get a little action. Don't forget our
Absolutely.
sponsor, BetUS. Use code DO.
Do.
Um, get a 125% bonus. Um, so the first one is Cleveland at Jacksonville. What are you seeing in that one, Sherm?
Let me go ahead. I have a spreadsheet. I'll show you guys how I do it when I put it in there.
Perfect.
I like to put it in. So, uh, as far as that game for me, it's a solid stay away from,
Mm-hmm.
simply just because I won't touch it if I had to put it in there. I'd imagine that I think and I believe that both teams, the way that they showed up in week one, you don't know where the motivation's coming from, right? We're hearing a whole lot of negativity surrounding Cleveland. And usually when
Yeah.
that happens, a team gets a lot of motivation. You also have a team that collapsed, so to speak. You
They
heard
gave
me
that
say
game
that.
away, man.
Correct.
ETN doesn't
You heard.
fumble that, right? I
Yes,
mean, that's
and
that
and a
game's
lot of
over
people, yeah, a lot of people are going to come in and say, well, hey, Sherm, that was a great punch out by Holland, and yes, it was, but
for sure.
you don't fumble that ball, right? And just the way that they
Right.
went about that, there was a fourth down call. That's just one I'm going to stay away from. There's just too many factors of both sides having motivation. I don't believe in my heart of hearts it's a must win for either side. I think they both can learn from it. I think, and you have to find some advantageous ways to go about that. What I'll say is that I like to look and see where a lot of the people are putting their money and where they're betting with and where they're at. So when you look at that, and a lot of those numbers won't come out until like you always want to look like 10% before, but it's a pros versus Joes game, so you guys know. The money
Mm-hmm.
percentages with Jacksonville being at home, they're -3, and the public believes that Cleveland is going to dog walk them. So
Yep.
you're getting 70% of the public betting on this game, and that's got
Yep.
about 32% of the money according to this. I've
Yep.
got it handicapped on my spreadsheet as Jacksonville actually favored by 4.5. So if you
Okay.
went by my spreadsheet, you'd be getting a 1.5 of value with Jacksonville. Like I said, pros versus Joes. The public's on 70% of them are betting about 30% of the money, whereas 30% of the big dogs have come in and laid about 70% of the money. So
Yeah,
I've
I'm
got
seeing that
Jacksonville.
too. I got 78% of the cash on Jacksonville. So
Yeah, I've got Jacksonville in my own personal, I would say. And whenever you see that, like I said, you want to side because the casinos will need Jacksonville. So, like I said, with that point and a half of value, look for a live situation. Hope Cleveland scores first, and if you can get Jacksonville at home in a live situation at positive odds, I think it's something you always aim to do.
do you want to
And that's
do
what
you want to touch on that for a minute though? For a lot of people who might not have who ever done live betting before, understand.
Sure, sure,
You know,
sure.
after the first snap, like what happens? What are you looking for? Why is it so much better for the better for us to
Yeah.
bet live?
So basically, what you do is if you have your own formula or you're buying somebody's picks or anything along those lines, and it's somebody who has their own formulas and spreadsheets, you're going to have it come through. And I make this statement a lot is that I love when my team goes down. Like when the Buffalo Bills, I had them favored over the Cardinals. Actually, so there's a preseason line, right? So before a game's ever played, that in Vegas, teams are graded by what's called yards per play.
Yeah.
Okay, YPP, and that's how you're graded: is how many yards per play your offense averages, or how many yards per play your defense gives up. Then you have factors such as a home field advantage, which is rounded to 3, but it's about 2.8. So if you ever see a team favored by 3, the truth is that Vegas thinks it's an even matchup. Like I said, they don't see much in it. But when something goes live, and let's just say, for instance, when this weekend, what's going to happen is we'll stick right to what happened against Buffalo and Arizona. Arizona jumped out to 17-3. Now, odds makers, the first thing they'll do is when that goes live is they'll say, well, what happens? Well, now we have to adjust our slate, and Arizona is now laying 5 points. They think Arizona will be win by 5. So at that moment, you can take Buffalo +5. If I had the game already handicapped on my own, or the guy I bought picks from, or the guy I listened to, which, believe it or not, they hit at about a 60 to 70, like not above, not to 70, but 60% on their money line picks. I'm saying they're going to be right on their money line picks. I don't give a damn who they are. They'll tell you who can win most of the time. So catching live odds is always a great thing. It's one of the most beautiful. You'll actually notice it. So like when Buffalo played Miami. You weren't ever going to get more points. Even though Buffalo scored first, Miami was still minus because the odds makers know that, one possession doesn't change, two possessions don't
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
You're going to see when that line moves,
Especially
it's
in the
moving for a
NFL.
reason. Exactly. Because
Yeah.
those are the best quants, they're the best analysts in the world.
Yeah.
Those people are paid unbelievable to tell you what can happen. And that's I was telling people all preseason, they're like, well, the Bills, the demise, the Bills. Well, if the Bills are so bad, then why does Vegas, if you think the Bills won't win 8 games, they're going to be under 500. I tell you what, then march right into that casino, right over there. Let me tell you something. You can get 3-1 on your money if you think the Bills will only win 7 games. You're going to get so much money. You could be the wealthiest human on the planet.
Every casino would take the
exactly.
max bet on that. Right?
It was 11.5. Okay,
Yeah.
Josh Allen to win MVP is now down. It's down. He's going to be odds-on favorite after with that horrible performance. Why? Because now it's a team award. And like I said, so the hype on Buffalo is going to be real. As a fan, who am I rooting for? I would love nothing more than Jacksonville to beat Cleveland as well. That way they won't come in a do or die situation because they cannot start
if they're
0.
coming in 0-2.
Correct. I'm telling you what, as a fan, since you're starting right with there, I want the Jacksonville Jaguars to win. I also do have them as a 4.5-point favorite. I believe their defensive line is going to give Watson fits. I also believe that their running game is going to be enough with Trevor making great plays. I think their wide receiver core stinks, if I haven't said that already. I don't believe in Gabe Davis. I'm not going to sit here. I praised everybody we lost. Gabe, as far as I'm concerned, I'm glad you got paid, buddy. Enjoy Jacksonville.
Right. All right. No, I think that's a great point. All right. Well, before you leave us, we'll hit the other two that affect us in our division. So, what about the Jets and Tennessee? I know you touched on the Jets already, but what do you?
Yeah. This is a great spot for the Jets. If you can get it at 3.5, lay the points. If the game starts and Tennessee scores right away, and you can get the Jets,
Oh,
even,
that would be beautiful.
just go ahead
Yeah.
and just put it on them. They're
Yeah.
they're going to win. They're going to win handedly. Let me tell you something. There's three major factors. Number one, a team that comes off an embarrassment on prime time. When they come back out after prime time, you get embarrassed in front of the nation. These are professionals. They come out. They have something to prove. Saleh is not going to mess around. Will Levis might have a cannon. What he doesn't have is a brain. They're going to be picking him off left and right. It's going to be fun. And I'm
So
not
pick
telling
up
you
the
this.
Jets defense in fantasy football.
I would hammer the Jets every which way you can take the Jets. I think Garrett Wilson's going to have a day. I think you're going to see this team on all cylinders, and I would hammer every which way I could. I believe in the Jets wholeheartedly this week.
What do you?
And I
do you
don't
have
like
anything
saying
about-
I don't like saying that,
Right,
by the way.
right.
But as my pockets matter more than my heart at this point. Never put your wallet in your heart.
What about
Or mark your wallet.
what about the total being 41?
So that's what I'm trying to. I think they're letting you know right there, right? I mean,
Right.
Tennessee's not a slouch, right? Tajay and Pollard, and then Will Levis airs it out. That has the makings of New York Jets. 31-10. That's what they're
Right, and
probably telling.
they got I think 80-something% of the tickets are on the over.
Sure, because they
50%
see that
of the
low.
money.
Yeah, they show
Right.
that low number, and immediately an NFL fan says, "Oh, 21-20, right?"
I could see that being so
yeah,
low. I could
you
see
know,
that
and they're
game being under so easy.
yeah, it's going to be under, and the Jets are going to.
Right, could you see a
You'll make
vintage Jets win like 23-3 or something, 23-6 or something like that?
So I don't see that because I do think Rodgers is so vain. He knows he needs to bounce back.
Yeah.
Don't ever underestimate someone else's vanity or their ability to what he thinks.
Yeah, he knows
Rodgers
he can't look like last game.
Yeah. Rodgers thinks highly of himself. This is a man who is self-aware. He wants to win. He needs to put on a show, a performance, so to speak, and they need to reverse the course. So again, and I don't see their defense having any problems with Tennessee. I think the people who there was a reason. Again, remember, always go back to preseason lines. Tennessee's preseason win total was 7 or 7.5. They're not. This isn't one of them. It's just not.
All right, what about Seattle at New England? I think that's an interesting one just because of you got the West Coast team going to the East Coast, 1 p.m. game.
That is one I can't help but say what I believe to be true, and I think Jacoby Brissett is an awesome teammate. I think that no,
I'm waiting for the butt.
Here's the butt. They overachieved, even scoring 18. Okay.
Oh yeah. Ramadre was out of his mind, dude.
Yeah,
my god.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't care if they played this game with Seattle marching in there at 8 a.m. in London, right? I mean, I'm serious. I think they could be half awake for this one. I'll lay those points in a second. Like I said, love for Ramondre to break a touchdown and get that live too. So Seattle wins. I think Seattle wins handedly, and I think that's another safe under you can take. That's a total that
38.5 right now.
And it should probably, like I said, 18 will be more than New England scores for the next 3 weeks. So I'll take that handily. I'll take the New England team total under as well. That's the play I like the best on that New England team total under. That's what you want to play. I don't think they're going to score. I like Seattle's higher. I think their defense is going to be biting. They're going to be good, and I think it'll be a very interesting and fun game.
Awesome, man. Well, we really appreciate it.
Thank you,
so
Sherm,
much for coming on.
No problem. You gentlemen have a good night. I'm going to watch the UFC and go Bills.
Luck,
I'll see you guys.
Yeah,
go Bills.
Hey,
Good to be seen.
All right, cut us over to the 2-person.
Yes, and there we
All
go.
right, man. We'll cover the rest of the slate here. We got a
Yes.
couple more AFC games, and then NFC, some NFC matchups, and then we can hit on some props that we like. Again,
Yeah.
thanks to Sherm. You can find him
Yes,
on
thank you,
Twitter
Sherm.
at Sherm_Lee. He is always available if you want to talk handicapping and betting strategies. He's got a wealth of knowledge, and he's a very knowledgeable Bills fan as well. So don't be afraid to hit him up and make sure you follow him. All
I
right,
learned
let's
quite a bit
go.
about betting.
Yeah, dude,
Having Sherm on. Yeah, he's good.
he'll talk about it all day, man, for sure. All right, so we got Cincinnati at Kansas City, 4 o'clock game.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's a lot of history there. Cincinnati looked terrible.
Yeah, they looked awful.
Against the New England team we just talked about. That is not good.
Yeah.
And Kansas City looked like Kansas City.
Yeah, they did.
Kick off the season against Baltimore. Kansas City's got the extra rest advantage as well. So
Yes, they
what
do
do you
actually.
think? What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, my thoughts are how good is Joe Burrow's wrists? I know there's a video going around of him with the water bottle. The way he picked up the water bottle just didn't look right. And he kind of flipped into his hand, and then you see him on the sideline kind of like flexing his wrist. I don't think his wrist is 100%. I don't know if it ever will be 100% again.
Did you see?
I mean-
They asked him about that.
Yeah, he said he didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like,
And I
"Oh,
just think this
drink
is-
water."
Yeah. So, I mean, still, the way he grabbed the water bottle was not right. I don't want to be
It
one of
was
those.
weird, yeah, for sure. Like
It was weird,
almost
kinda
he
went
thought he
like
was
a-
gonna drop it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if he doesn't have the strength in it, but I mean,
Well,
Then-
I was reading up on that injury, and they were saying like the majority of people never get more than 80% of their like wrist flexation, if you want to call it that, and wrist strength. So, I mean, obviously for a quarterback and it being your throwing hand, it's pretty damn important. So even if he's only at 90% or something like that,
Yeah.
I could definitely see that affect him.
for sure.
He's always been, to me, a big play merchant. He's so good before the snap and knowing where to go with the ball, but he
Yeah.
relies a lot on his guys to make a play on the ball and then break one. And so I'm just not sure, man. Without all their weapons out there, without everyone healthy, and
Yeah, no
things
T.
just-
Higgins, too.
right, and then he's gonna still try to sling the ball out there. Like we'll see, man. But
I mean,
it's hard to overreact though too with the Bengals. They've got off to slow starts before, and then they turn it around. It's usually they turn it around right before they play us, and then
yeah, right before week
smoke
4 or
us.
week 5. Yeah,
so
it's weird. They get up to playoffs. Jamar Chase said they're the team to beat in the AFC. I don't know how you can say that after you just lost to New England. I mean, sure, you have to have confidence.
they've always kind of thought that way, right?
Yeah.
They've always been very cocky, but they're a soft team, man. To me, it looks like this year they've lost a lot of their power. Like DJ Reader inside and Joe Mixon, running.
I was just about to touch on that. They lost some pieces.
They did,
I mean-
and defensive, interior and Joe Mixon at running back, like who was just a hammer.
Yeah, he just went off with Houston in
Yeah,
his
they replaced
debut.
them with Zach Moss and Chase Brown. Like they're fine, but they're not. I mean, Mixon's what 6', 230, 235.
Yeah,
like,
you're not gonna get
he's
the
a
same
monster,
production
man.
From Zach Moss and Chase Brown that you're going to get from Joe Mixon. I think this
Yeah,
is
he
a
just
game
brought the
where...
nasty.
Yeah, he did. And you want to know a guy who brings the nasty is the guy in Kansas City, Isaiah Pacheco. I don't know, with not having DJ Reader now.
can't
I know they still have Logan Wilson. Pacheco scares me. Okay? I don't
Why?
want
He's
to find
not
maybe I
even
shouldn't say
good.
scare.
I don't think
I know it's
he's
just-
the most overrated running back in football.
Do you?
He's so overrated. Yes, dude. He's running behind arguably the best line in football.
In football, yeah.
Against boxes that are extremely light because everyone's scared of Mahomes, and he doesn't even put up good numbers. Man, they still got to run the ball 30 times for him to put up numbers.
He clips 100.
So, I don't know.
He just
man.
runs so hard. I just don't know if
It's the
Cincinnati
way
has
it's
enough.
He
in
looks
the,
that way. He runs like an animated character. The dude's not even real. Like he literally runs like a robot. I don't know, like a really pissed off robot. So I don't
He
know.
does. Yeah, but I think this is a game that Kansas City wins. So I just think Cincinnati has
sure.
lost too many pieces, and they do start off slow.
But
And
Kansas City loves to play down to their competition. Loves
they do,
it.
yeah.
They love to keep a game close, and they love, they win, but they love to keep their opponent around. So I could totally see Cincinnati hanging around, make it interesting. But yeah, Kansas City should win that game with no problem.
They should. I kind of hope Kansas City does too. Just bury another AFC team, make them go to
Yeah,
0-2, especially in that
Bengals
division.
corners didn't look very good. Like
No, they didn't.
we'll see. We'll see. All right,
Yeah.
so we got Indianapolis going to Green Bay is the next one I want to talk about because we play the Colts later on in the year, and
Yes, we do.
I
November.
think it's
10th, I
interesting. Like we don't know too much about them. We don't know what they're gonna be yet, and they got to go up to Lambeau, and if they can't beat a Jordan Loveless Green Bay team, then I don't know how serious to take them. I mean, you heard my thoughts on Anthony Richardson, and he was
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
like I described him, right? Boomer bust, always looking for the big play, really inconsistent. But man, when he hits him, he can throw the ball, man. That throw he made was unbelievable. But he missed A.D. Mitchell on at least 3 balls that were 30, 40 yards down the field. 2 of them were touchdowns. So
Yeah.
we'll see. That's interesting
See-
one to me. I don't know if you have a certain way you think that game's going to
No, yeah, I do. I just think, like we talked about, I believe it was last week, the Colts will go as far as Anthony Richardson goes. And I saw Anthony Richardson last week try running through somebody. You can't do that as a quarterback.
Right, I saw that too.
Yeah.
He lowered his shoulder, and I was like, "Dude, you just missed the year
whole-
because
the
of
year.
the shoulder, man. Like, what are you doing, man?"
Yeah, I mean, I think
Ugh.
if you can't beat a Malik Willis-led Packers team, which the Packers defense looked pretty suspect against the Eagles, especially on third down back in Brazil, where do you stand in the AFC where it's absolutely loaded, especially in your division with Jacksonville and obviously the Titans and Houston?
Yeah, no, I agree, and I heard some rumors that Love has an outside chance to play, but I just don't understand why Green Bay would
Why-
do that. I mean, yes, we've all seen Willis play, so maybe that has something to do with it. But yeah, you got to think about the future, man, and just rest him up.
For him to be doubtful now, it's kind of like, why not just roll him out? Are you trying to
Right,
play
exactly.
a game like a mind game with
Right.
Indy? Oh, he might play. No, you don't put
Maybe.
him out there. You just paid that. No.
All right, well, you take the next game because it's
Yay.
definitely your favorite team in the NFL. So
Yeah, no, this is by no. Wait, no. See, love. I like this Bears defense. I really do. We're talking about Chicago at Houston for Sunday Night Football. I think this is a game where the Bears have a top 10 defense. And how does
whoa,
CJ Stroud?
okay,
Yes, I think they have a top 10 defense with the
okay.
best corner in the NFL and Jalen Johnson.
He's not the best corner, but he's very good.
I believe he's the best. It's not, okay. My Bears. Okay, it sounds really bad. It feels like I have a lot of Bears fandom. I really don't. I really don't
You
like
really
the Bears.
do. That's nice.
I really don't like the Bears. But yeah, I mean,
So can that
how-
offense do anything though? I mean, Caleb
that's
looked
that's my question.
awful. He looked not great in the preseason. He's under 60, well under 60% completion percentage. He's missing. Guys are wide open. He's just not throwing it. When he does throw it, it's not very good. Do you think they can muster up enough offense to compete with Houston? And do you think the Bears can slow down Houston enough?
I mean, look at the Bears' run defense from last year. They had a pretty good run defense, but at the same time, you also are not, like Sherm said, Houston probably has the best receiving room in the NFL. How can you stop that? I mean, they're loaded. Now, yeah, sure, you might be able to slow down Joe Mixon, but then can you slow down the pass game in Houston? I'm not worried about Chicago's defense. I'm more worried about their offense. Like you said, Caleb Williams did not look good last week. It didn't look like he didn't trust his eyes at all. The offensive line was not that good either in the game. They didn't use DeAndre Swift that much as well. It's gonna be pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
that
'cause-
was disappointing. That offensive line was not near as. I didn't think it would be world beaters, but they've been investing in it a little bit, and I thought it would at least be competitive, and they got their butt kicked by what I don't think is that good of a defensive line.
yeah, just Jeffrey Simmons, and that's about it on the defensive line. But I mean,
Yeah,
how
I got Houston, man. Houston should win that game. If
see Keenan Allen and
that's
Roma
the-
Dunze are both questionable as well.
Right, that's what I mean. Like everything's leaning Houston's way. There's no reason Houston doesn't win that game. Now, I'd love for Houston to lose. Obviously, that would be great, but I just don't. I don't see the game script where they can lose that game at home. That's just one of those that's like you have to win, right? It's you got to stack some wins in the AFC this
Right, you
year,
have
and
to.
that just seems like one that you should be able to.
Right, if you can't win that game, what does that say about Houston? I mean, we talk about the Chicago side. How does Chicago look? Now, how does CJ Stroud look against in my eyes, a top 10 defense? How does that offense look?
Yeah,
Because there
for
has been
sure.
games where CJ Stroud did not show up last year. Obviously, that was his rookie year and all, but still, this is one of the
Yeah,
better defenses that you're going to play this year.
yeah, and that stretch down the end when they took off, like they weren't playing great. They weren't playing great
Yeah.
defenses. So, yeah, it's a good point. All right, well, let's switch it over to a couple interesting games in the NFC.
Yes.
Um, got New Orleans at Dallas.
This is gonna,
It might not be the prettiest game on the schedule, but I do want to see, you know, this is like one of those litmus test games. Like, is New Orleans a real team? I had them in our power rankings. I think bottom three. So they looked good week one, but they were playing our worst team in the NFL in Carolina. So was that
yeah.
more just them beating up on a terrible team at home? We'll see. Now they got to go on the road and face Dallas, who looked really good against Cleveland. But what is Cleveland? I don't know.
We
But
won't know,
Dallas looked
right?
good. The offense looked good, and now they're at home. Dallas plays better at home. So I think if New Orleans can look competitive, look good, I think that says a lot about New Orleans. But I'm fully expecting Dallas to win that game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those Dallas blowout games that we see in the regular season. Me
Yeah,
personally, I think it was more the Saints were playing Carolina than it was the
yeah,
Saints actually being good. And again, Dallas is very good in the regular season. They're almost guaranteed 10 to 12 wins in the regular season every year.
yeah, yeah. There is 75% of the tickets and 85% of the cash on the over, which is at 46.5. So
Okay.
sounds like people are really looking for some fireworks in that game. So we'll see, because that's two defenses that are supposed to be pretty good. I mean, if
Yeah,
if anything for New Orleans, right? Their defense has been very good. So
it has
that's
been.
interesting. I mean, 46.5 is a pretty good total. So
It is.
we'll see. Next
Speaking of
one
fireworks,
is
this
yeah.
one's
This
fireworks.
is
This is a
Tampa
good one.
Bay at Detroit. This is a big game for Tampa Bay. I think this is
I think so too.
they can really show the NFL that they're for real. They're not just beating up on the NFC South and getting a wild card. They're going to compete this year and take them serious. So I think if they can go into Detroit and especially on their offensive line, if they can handle
Yeah.
the Detroit defensive line and come out of there with a win, that would be an enormous statement. And then I want to see how Detroit does against Tampa Bay. Detroit's defense, I'm a little worried about it, especially on the outside. Between injuries and some not great play. I want to see how they match up against Godwin and Evans and McMillan. So we'll see. I mean, I think it could be a high scoring game. Right now it's the line's at 51.5 for the total. So there Vegas is expecting points too. So we'll see. What do you think
Yep.
about that game?
I'm right there with you. I think this is a game where you're going to be watching Tampa Bay's offense versus Detroit's defense. And this is a divisional round rematch from last season. And Tampa Bay did have a chance to win the game last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I do agree with you. This is a game where if Tampa Bay can pull it off in Detroit, especially, and that's not an easy thing to do. If they can pull it off, that kind of shows like, hey, we are a real team. And one of Baker Mayfield's biggest knocks are, can he be consistent throughout the whole year? Because he'll have his highs and he'll have his lows.
Yeah.
This is a game where, especially now, it's an in-conference opponent. You kind of have to win, or at least make it look competitive.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say like a week 2 game, right, is like a must win, but no, I think it's more of just like can they compete with that top tier of NFC teams where I think Detroit already is, is Tampa going to be there
Right.
too, or are they just going to be, the like we had them, I think we had them like 7th or 8th in our power
Yeah, we had it.
rankings,
Yeah.
you know. I fully expect them to win the South, but especially after Atlanta looked week 1, but is that all they're going to be, right? Is win their division and then,
That's it.
fight a little bit in the wild card. So, yeah, that's a good one. And then the next one too, I think is kind of similar boat. It's the Rams at Arizona. It's a 4 o'clock game. Um, I'm interested in this one for a lot of reasons. I want to see how Arizona plays against somebody else, right?
Right,
So we,
right.
we played them last week. I think, like we've said, that offense I think is very good. If anything, it's underrated.
It is.
So I want to see how they do. They should be able to take full advantage of the Rams defense. Um, I do kind of worry about that Rams D line kind of manhandling that Cardinals offensive line, but maybe Kyler can mitigate some of that. So we'll see. I'd like to see a bounce back from Marvin Harrison Jr. and Trey McBride as well. And
Yep.
then the Rams, their offensive line is really beat up. They're missing quite a few starters, and
Yeah,
then
they are.
also Puka's out as well. So that might play into the Cardinals' hands as far as their lack of pass rush. But I think it's going to be points and who comes down to making the least amount of mistakes. But I think it should be a really interesting game to watch. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I do want to see how Arizona. Do want to see how Arizona looks, especially because we did play them last week, and see if they can build off that first half they had against us. Then look at the Rams side of it. You would think this is a game the Rams should win, but due to their injuries, can they still manage to pull it off? So
Cup's going to get a lot of targets, I think.
I have him in
Uh,
fantasy, so I hope
I
so.
think Kyron Williams has gone, I think, for 300 yards in the last 2 games against the
Yeah,
Cardinals combined. I think like 150 something and 140 something. So, can the Rams just run the ball, down the Cardinals' throats and then, hit Cup when they need to? Um, and then can the Cardinals keep up? I'm actually excited to watch that game. I don't love watching too many NFC games, but that one should be pretty exciting. Um,
should
I
be.
think we should circle back to the key games for us and give our
Yes.
takes on them, since they do impact us. So Cleveland at Jacksonville. Obviously, we're both going to be at that Jacksonville game, Week 3.
Yes, we will.
So I'm interested in that, and then with Cleveland being, an AFC opponent as well. But
Right.
that one's tough for me, man, because I like this Cleveland team. Obviously, their roster is really good, but
Right.
zero faith in Deshaun Watson. I've been a Deshaun Watson detractor, even when he was in Houston. He's kind of like a chaos merchant as far as like he lived off of the breakdown of a play and kind of made magic by
Right.
just
Right.
chucking it up to DeAndre Hopkins. So and then his shoulder. I think his shoulder injury is really serious, and he just
I think so too.
can't he can't fit the ball where he used to in tight windows, and he doesn't get the velocity on it. And in the NFL, man, it's just a split second. You're a little slow, and bad things happen. So I don't see him recovering. I don't see him playing better. But can he play like mediocre and let the defense, do work? Um, Dallas dominated them in the first week.
At
So
home?
yeah, and so I don't know what's going on. Is there something going on in the locker room? Like, why didn't that defense show up? I don't know. So I'm interested to see. Like, you can't go down to Jacksonville and lay an egg.
You
Um,
can't.
so I'm interested from that angle, and then Jacksonville side, like, I don't know. And then they're a bugaboo for something, for some reason. I don't know why, but I do want to see like how they look. Sherm made a great point. I really don't want to face an 0-2 Jacksonville. Um, I'd much rather have them pick up a win and then come
Yeah.
up here. So we'll see, but I don't know what to make of that Jacksonville team. Like, they were handing it to Miami. They got the turnover, and then everything fell apart. The
Yeah,
wheels just
everything fell
fell off.
apart.
They couldn't turn it around. They couldn't make a play. They had multiple opportunities to turn that game back around in their favor.
Yeah.
They just couldn't do it. So is that a week 1 thing? I don't know. What do you think?
Yes, on the Cleveland side, I do want to see if how Deshaun Watson looks going into week 2, because we saw last year Cleveland made the playoffs with average quarterback play. They had Joe Flacco, they had a DTR with a very good defense. I want to see if the defense, if that was just a week 1 thing, like you already said, and if they can play good against a team that overall has some good talent on offense. So that's what I'm looking for from the Cleveland side and the Jacksonville side. Watching a little bit of everything from the offensive side and defensive side, just because obviously we do play them next.
Yeah. I want to see how that run defense is for Jacksonville because it's hard to grade them on Miami. That's such a different offense and how
Right.
they run the ball. So I'm interested to see how they do against Cleveland and could Cleveland, kind of control that line of scrimmage and can they pound the rock against them? Because obviously that's something we want to do and it's more of a traditional run game. So I'm definitely interested to see that Jacksonville D line because years past when we've played them, we haven't had this kind of run game, and we've been doing
Exactly.
more, relying more on drop back passing, and their D line has eaten our lunch, and especially Josh Allen, Josh Hines Allen, he's had some of his best games of his career against our Josh Allen. So
Yeah.
I would love to see us be able to run the ball and not have Josh just sit back there, and try to be hero. So yeah, I definitely want to check that out. I'm hoping Cleveland could just beat them up on both sides of the line, and then they show up to us battered and bruised. But
Right.
definitely
Because, I
interested
mean,
in that.
it is nice that we finally get them in Buffalo. Not like last year where we were the home team, but we were in London.
And the rest advantage too, right? I mean,
Yeah, they were there for 2 weeks.
yeah, for sure. Now we get our rest advantage. So
Exactly.
yeah, that game last year just such a bad taste in my mouth. So yeah, I'm looking forward.
I'm
to
still
that.
salty about that. Woke up at 8 o'clock and 7 o'clock in the morning for that.
Right.
Ooh.
Oh.
Mm.
All right, so Jets
Time to turn
at
that one around.
Tennessee.
Yeah.
Again, like I think Sherm brought out a really good point. Like, if the Jets can't handle this Tennessee team, they're in for a long year. I am interested in that Tennessee defensive line and what they can do to the Jets offensive line because man, it sure looks like if you can get to Rodgers, he can't do anything anymore, man. He made a living off of being mobile and moving in the pocket and,
All
and,
script
and
plays,
doing
yeah.
that spin move, right, and scrambling, buying more time. There's none of that. So
He
he's
doesn't have
got to
that,
drop back and get it out of his hands. So I'm interested to see if Tennessee can take advantage of that. I know they got a lot of new pieces on their defense, but yeah, I want to see how good that Jets O line is.
Yeah. Tommy
yeah,
says
Tommy.
Jamar Chase might want out of Cincinnati. He might.
Yep, for sure.
He might.
He has a better chance of getting paid elsewhere. So and honestly, with the friendship that him and Burrow have, like if Burrow's wrist is cooked, I could totally see Burrow's telling him and being like, yeah, man, you can go. Like,
Go somewhere else, yeah.
Understand it, because yeah, I mean, there's nothing you could do if his wrist is done.
Right.
So we'll see. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, but I mean, for me in the Jets and Titans game, I don't want to say this determines the Jets season, but at the same, because it's only week 2, but at the same
No,
time,
it's a good point.
if you
though,
can't
man.
beat
go
a Tennessee,
0-2, yeah,
exactly, you can't beat a Tennessee team a team that you should beat, because I mean, you in the preseason you were favored as the AFC East champions.
yeah.
Now, yes, I know Rodgers did not look. Well, we do got coming here from Tommy. I wish Buffalo could pay him. It would be nice, but unfortunately, we do not have the cap space for that.
We could. I mean, you could always make anything work.
Well, you can always move things around, of course.
I just don't think
But
I
yeah-
want to pay the assets for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just with this, like, can Tennessee run over the Jets defense again? Just like how San
that's a
Francisco's
great
backup
point.
did. Yeah,
That's a great point. Like, can Tennessee run the ball on this Jets defense? Because that's what we're going to try to do, right? I mean,
right,
uh,
right.
that's what we did last year in the second meeting as well. So, yeah, can that trend continue? Is that a serious weakness for the Jets? They have a soft schedule, right? Like
They do, yeah.
they're playing a 4th place schedule, so it's hard to
Right.
count them out. Especially after 1 week, but 2 weeks. But if you have some serious red flags as far as Rodgers' mobility, that offensive line, and then the not being able to stop the run, like that's recipes for a long
Yeah.
season. Where I could totally see them go, 8-9 or 9-8 or something like that. So
Agreed.
and that's it. That's only if Rodgers plays.
Agreed. And from the Tennessee side of it, is it that they're just playing a Chicago offense that is new? or is Tennessee's defense really that good? That's what I'm looking for on the Tennessee side of it. And can Will Levis bounce back from not awful performance last week?
No, that's a great point because it's hard to grade Tennessee's defense. Like they obviously shut down the Chicago offense, but like
Why is
Caleb
that
had a
though?
lot of guys open. Like guys were
Right,
wide open, and he just was not throwing it to him. So, and then he also missed a lot of throws. So, it's hard to say that was like all because of Tennessee, right? But at the same time, you can't like knock them for it and say that they're gonna get they're not a good defense. So, yeah,
right,
this is a great point. If they can really shut down this Jets offense again, I think that goes a long way to showing that Tennessee's going to be around.
right, right.
Yeah, and then we face them, middle of the
Yeah, we
season.
do.
So
That would be our next home game after next Monday. So
yeah, which is what, like 4 weeks away. We have
yes,
3 road
October
games in a row.
20th, week 7 to 1 p.m. kickoff.
Yeah, so I'm interested to see this for all those reasons. The next one's that Seattle at New England game. I got a weird feeling that New England could mess around and win another game. Um, maybe that's just like the Geno hater in me. I can never get past the Jets days and how many times I saw him just make some really dumb throws. I
And no
think
Kenneth
that
Walker.
right, exactly, yeah, no Kenneth Walker with the oblique and I think that Jets or that New England defense that secondary can force a turnover or two. Like, can
It
New
can.
England's pass rush? Is that Cincinnati's O line not being very good, or is New England really going to be able to create that pressure with Keon White and crew, even after losing Judon? So from that aspect, I'm definitely interested to see how Seattle handles that New England D line, and then can Geno handle the confusion in the secondary? Because if he gives points to that defense, if they can get a pick six or a fumble recovery or something like that, and then the offense can score like 13 points or something, they could walk out of there winning like 20 to you know 17 or 20 to 13, 2016, something ugly like that. That would be
Right.
such a New England win, at home. Seattle going across the country.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. Seattle, a West Coast team traveling to New England on the East Coast. They are without arguably one of their best players in Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
And a New England team that a lot of people expected not to beat Cincinnati. Can they make it 2 weeks in a row of beating? I believe Seattle was a. They were no, they weren't a playoff team last year, were they?
I don't remember.
Well, I know they were in it for a while though. They were in the wild card race for quite some time. But can New England pull off a win at home, a game they shouldn't win? I don't think so. But again, I
It's hard to
thought
trust
Cincinnati.
this New England, right? I mean,
Right, it's
we're
they're
so
new.
you're a little younger than me, but for 20 plus years they were unbeatable, and then the
Yep,
last
ruined my childhood.
yeah the last 3 years, it's hard to it's hard to forget that
It
they're
is.
that bad, man. So you know are they good enough to steal some games? I don't know. It's hard to give them too much credit, right?
Right, new regime on top of it too. I mean, we just don't. They have no track
Right,
record.
and that's why I almost want to give them more credit because it looked like they played like much more sound and physical, and so I don't know if that was just like new energy from Gerard Mayo and then wanting to play hard for his first game. I don't know. So I'm interested to see how they come out and play because I could totally see Seattle too just lighting it up and blowing them out essentially by 10 plus points, but at the same time, like this is
Yeah,
such a New England spot to just muddy up a game, make it really ugly, and and come out with a really gross win. Special teams score, and a defensive score or something like that.
no, I'm right there with you. And if this was a Bill Belichick defense, I'd give New England more of a chance. But it's not. It's a Gerard Mayo, and like we said, the
Yeah,
regime's just too new.
that's a good point though. I'm interested to see because I don't know how I feel about that. Like, I feel like part of Belichick's downfall towards the end was he didn't want to do a lot of the major adjustments and kind of morph into the newer game, and he still wanted to use the linebackers that are just the thumpers downhill.
Right, right.
So I'm wondering if Gerard Mayo's more willing to, depending on who they're going against, to run more stuff like that. Run more dime, run more, a Mapu coming down as a linebacker instead of
Right.
playing safety, and so we'll see. I think that's definitely a game to learn some things about New
It
England,
is.
and then Seattle too, right? We play them as well, so.
Yes, we do. Later on in the year.
So yeah, I definitely want to check them out. All right, you want to hit on a couple props, and don't forget our sponsor BetUS. Use code DEW for a deposit bonus. What do you got?
Yeah, the first one I have actually. How never would have expected it for the Chicago-Houston game.
Oh my god, dude!
I do have it. Oh, I lost it. It's right here. Okay. They have CJ Stroud at over 265 and a half passing yards at minus 114. I do like that. I do see this being a game where, with Chicago having a good run defense, where Houston does try to run the ball a bit more, because I know last week they did use Joe Mixon quite a bit. So I do see CJ Stroud going over 265 and a half passing yards. And I just think they're going to target their slot corner, Kyler Gordon, and their second-year boundary corner, Tyreek Stevenson. I mean, those are 3 number ones going to be.
Yeah, and Stevenson is so boomer bust. I feel like
Yes.
he either picks the ball off or makes some type of crazy deflection, or he gives up a bomb. So
I agree. And Caleb Williams, they have his line at 215 and a half. I'm going to take the... I'm going to go with the under here. I do see this being a game where Chicago does try to do that typical Chicago game and try to run the ball, force their will in the running game. I don't see this being the game where Chicago goes over. Where
especially
Caleb
with
Williams.
Keenan and Dunze hurt.
Yeah, I mean, if one of them play, maybe. But I mean, I know they called up their rookie wide receiver, Colin Johnson, who looked good in the preseason, but now, especially with those 2 defensive ends in Houston, with Daniil Hunter, Will Anderson, and Derek
when you
Stingley.
can let Stingley, just take your
Yeah.
best guy, right, and then not have to worry about the others. So, yeah,
And the
that's
other
a
one's
great
dinged
point.
up, and
I
you
like
can't
the
rely.
under there.
You can't rely on just Cole Kmet and a dinged up Adunze or a dinged up Keenan Allen to help Caleb Williams go over 215 and a half.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna go to the Kansas City Cincinnati game. I like Riche Rice over 6.5 receptions.
Okay.
And then I like Justin Watson over 15.5 receiving yards. I know they like to target him down the field. He just needs 1 catch, and I think he's going to get over that. And then Rice has been their go-to guy. I don't think the Bengals corners are that good this year, and
They're not, yeah.
Rice has been getting the volume. I think he had 8 catches last game. So yeah, I like him in that one. And then for Cincy, I like their backup running back, Travion Williams, over 10.5 receiving yards. I could see Kansas City getting out to a lead, Cincinnati needing it in a drop back game, and their running back 2 getting, a catch or 2 and getting over those yards pretty easily.
Yep. Then my final 2 are I do see DeAndre Swift going over 45 and a half at minus 115. Like I stated earlier, I think this is a game where Chicago is going to try to help their rookie quarterback and run the ball quite a bit. And then I do have Joe Mixon under 72 and a half. I just think Chicago's rushing defenses, it was pretty good last year, and I think it's going to continue with, especially with their linebackers, Tremaine Edmonds and TJ Edwards.
I was surprised how much they gave up to Tennessee on the ground, but then again, I don't know how much of it was just like 1 or 2.
They had, I believe, they had
runs.
2
Yeah.
I think like 2 runs that went for like 15 or 20.
Mixon is
Tajay
just
Spears.
such a different back. It's hard.
He is.
It's hard to say like, oh yeah, our run defense is good, but it's like facing Derrick Henry, right? It's like a completely different animal.
Right, with Mixon, right.
It just goes right up the middle, man. You gotta want violence. Playing.
So yeah, to tackle him, I mean,
Yeah, and he's totally fine just getting 3 yards and just leveling someone and getting 3 yards.
Yeah,
Getting 3 yards,
right.
and then he breaks 8 or 10 or 15 yarders. So yeah, I think that'll be a good test for Chicago. Um, let's see, where am I gonna go next? I'll go. I'll go to the Rams game. Um, I like Cooper Cup over 7.5 receptions. Um, I don't think I don't like the Cardinals corners at all. We saw that firsthand. I don't think either of them are very good. Um, and with Puka out, I think Cup's gonna get 10 targets in the first half, maybe,
He's
depending on the
right,
game
right.
script. I mean, so I think that one is pretty easy for me to go to. Um, let's see. After that, at Green Bay, I got Dontavian Wicks over 11.5 receptions.
Okay.
Um, again, it's just one of those where I think he just needs one target and he'll get over that. It's hard this game though with Love being out. I don't necessarily love this one, but again, um, it just needs one reception. He's more of an intermediate to a deep type of target. So, um, yeah. And then I got Chargers. I got Gus Edwards over 2.5 receiving yards. Um, I think that's one where, again, it's just one screen, it's just one pass, and he'll get over that. They've targeted him a couple times last week. The only worry is the game script. They're going against Carolina if they get out early, but it's Greg Roman, and they like to switch up their running backs. They're going to run the ball a lot, and it just takes one screen, one pass, and he gets over that. Even when backups come in, whatnot, like I think that one's very easily doable. Um, I have the Chargers as well. Will Disley over 7.5 receiving yards. Um, I think that's kind of like a no-brainer in the Greg Roman offense. They want to target tight ends. He doesn't have a lot of weapons there, and again, it's just I feel like one catch he's going to get over that. He cleared it last week. And then my last one is Baltimore. I have Justice Hill over 1.5 receptions.
Okay.
Um, so he was their passing down running back, and I think he's easily going to get 4 or 5 targets.
And my final one is actually Devin Singletary going over 56.5 rushing yards. Eventually, Dable's going to take the ball out of Daniel Jones's hands, which I do have Daniel Jones going over the half interception mark as well. Because eventually, Brian Dable.
So shout out to Do Neffy and Kevin on No One to Blame. They did a little spot prop show earlier tonight. So if you go to the Do Champions YouTube page, you can check out their show. It's a half hour, and they did it all on props and Sunday betting. But they had a fun one. They did a Daniel Jones ladder and betting his over passing yards from 200 all the way up to 350. That's definitely a game. I think if it's going to be a bounce back, there's not really a better spot than that. That Washington defense was not
Be dealt
good
with,
last
right.
week. That secondary is very bad and banged up.
Right.
And they're going to throw the ball, man. He missed a couple last week, and between Neighbors and Wandale Robinson, I think they're going to put up yards. I think they're going to throw the ball. And so I really like that. So check out No One to Blame on the Do Champions YouTube channel. But yeah, I would hop on that on BetUS. I would hammer the over passing yards, and you could do it like they did, where you do the ladder and bet all the overs, and you just keep cashing them, man, throughout the game.
And make sure you use code DO.
Yes, use code DO for your first 3 deposits and get a 125% back in.
Yes, 125%. Yep.
Bonus bets. All right, so what do we got coming up? Both of us are going to Buffalo. We're going to be at the Monday Night Football Jacksonville game. If you see us walking around, you see us around town, say hi. Give us a Go Bills.
And good to be seen.
Good to be seen. We're going to be there. We'll be doing our Saturday show in Buffalo. So excited about that. And then the game Monday night. What are you looking forward to about finally getting back up to Buffalo?
The wings, of course. How can you not say the wings? And being at Ilio DiPaolo's with the Do crew, as Tommy likes
Yeah.
to call it, with Tommy, you, myself, Matt, and Student, as well. It's gonna be a good time, and to
You
to
got any
enjoy tailgating.
spots besides Ilio DiPaolo's, right? That's a must go
Right, that's a
to
must.
at least once or twice while we're in town. You got any other
Of
spots
course.
you're looking to cross off the list or try out on this trip?
Yes, I know. Student. We were talking to Student a little bit before we went live, and he brought up wing nuts and the 911 Tavern. Well, he didn't bring up 911 Tavern, but he brought up wing nuts. I do want to try wing nuts now, and then I do want to try the 911 Tavern as well.
Yeah, I want to try 911 Tavern. I want to try Adolph's too. Um, and then I always go to Barbell North
You have to go to
with my
Barbell.
family.
Have to.
Yeah, that one's always a good spot. And then I feel like just from legacy standpoint and historics, I mean, we go up to usually one Bills game for the last, I don't know, almost 30 years. Um, and so Duff's has just been a spot where we always go get wings, and their hot
Okay.
wings are just something nostalgic about it. I definitely think they probably became overrated, and at this point now they've become underrated. So I'm sure I'll get a plate or two of those. Definitely got to get some pizza
Have to.
too, and then you got to hit up Ted's hot dogs. It's always a must, and a couple beef on Wex too. So
See, and that's what Matt was telling me about the Ted's hot dogs.
you've never been to Ted's hot dogs?
No, never.
Oh man, all right. So
I got a
it's
lot of learning to do.
so yeah, it's you char grill, right? They got the grill
Right.
open right in front of you, and they grill
Okay.
up your dog, and then you put whatever toppings on it. They got the hot relish is really good. You got to get the cheese,
Okay.
you get the cheese sauce on there. You can get ketchup, mustard, onions, whatever you want. You can get a foot long, regular. They got the Polish too.
Oh,
It's
okay.
good, man. Get the fries with cheese sauce on the side. Get a little Loganberry action going on.
Okay.
And then if you're like us, we usually hit that, and then we go straight over to like Charlie the Butcher or somewhere and get a beef on wick. So you go Ted's to beef on wick, and
Okay.
it's a nice little afternoon, and then you go take a nap and then go watch some football. So
Yeah, I
I
gotta
mean, what
add
else do you
Ted's
do
to
in
that
Buffalo,
list.
right? You just eat a lot
Right?
of food and watch football. So
Right? That's all you can do, really.
yeah, all right, man. Well, I guess
Yeah.
we'll close it out. We'll be back on Saturday, 9 o'clock next week, getting ready for the Jacksonville game. We'll most likely have a guest. We're trying to finalize exactly who that's going to be,
Yep.
but we'll have a guest on to talk the Jags side and get their insight. So definitely check us out, and please make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube, Do Champions, and then follow both Pat and I on Twitter. We put out lots of content during the week. Also, make sure you check out. We'll have our feature on trench warfare, where we put out the graphics for the matchup on both sides, offense and defensive line, and then we do the skill mismatch, the mismatch meter, where we show the back seven versus the skill positions on both sides. So Jaguars and the Bills. We'll put those out probably Thursday and Friday next week. So definitely check those out. They'll be on the Do Champions social medias, and then both Pat and I's social medias too. And then check us out on Instagram too if you prefer that flavor over X.
Jake, I think that's all we got.
Think we hit
Hey.
it all, man.
I'll see you Saturday. It's good to be seen.
See you Saturday, man. Go Bills.
Go Bills.